Hello and welcome to today's Thursday training session. My name is Star Johnson and I'm one of the national trainers here. I am so happy to be one of your co-host trainers today on this Thursday Q&A. So again, my name is Starlet Johnson and I have my lovely co-host here.
Hello, Tina Bradford.
And today this is all about the Q&A session. So before we get into today's topic, I want to make sure that everyone can see our screen. So you'll definitely see us on camera here. You'll see our backdrop, which reads the Modern Mortgage Experience. And to the right of your screen, you'll also locate a webinar control panel. So in that webinar control panel is where you and I and Tina will have our dialogue throughout today's presentation. So if you have any questions, feedback, and or concerns, please pose them right there in that webinar control panel. So just to make sure that you can locate that webinar control panel, please type in which branch you're tuning in from, what organization, or what city and state. So we'll know that you can hear us and follow our directive throughout today's presentation. So locate that webinar control panel so we can say hello to you this morning. So we have Tim Black. Welcome and thank you for joining us today and today's Thursday training session. So without further ado, woohoo, Tim, and
Hi,
also Craig. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to my co-host here, Tina Bradford, so she can let you know what today's training is all about.
Hi, good morning. So today, like normal, I like to first throw it out to you. And hi, Tom. Hope you're doing well. I like to throw it out to you. Do you have a topic that you came here to get answered? If you do, let me know right there in the question box because Star and I are ready to answer any questions you have about Mortgage Coach. So you'll see me looking over. That's me reading the little question box. And go ahead, Tim. What is your question? So while we're waiting for Tim to ask the question, why is there tax benefit deducted from rent? Great question. So when you rent, you do have a tax deduction, and that is that tax deduction everyone gets on their taxes. So regardless of renting or owning, everyone has that standard deduction right there on their taxes, and that is where that calculation comes from. Now, the benefit, of course, of owning is because that interest rate is so much higher. You are now capable of not using that standard deduction typically, but you're going to use that itemized tax amount. So this is the difference there, and that is where that comes from. So great question. And then Craig, what is the best way to get trained on the nuts and bolts? Well, let me tell you, the best way to get trained on the nuts and bolts is to join my little Starlet Monday mornings. Come on over. Talk about your intro class.
Yes, every Monday, as Mortgage Coach community members just like you, we offer training sessions Monday through Friday. But one of the trainings talks about general concepts, and I teach you how to build from start, from finish, and that is the Beginners to Mortgage Coach intro class. And that's offered every single Monday from 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that training is a duration of 60 minutes. So if you want to know the nuts and bolts and go through a full presentation with me on Mondays, please sign up. There's only two things you need to do. One is enroll, and the second one is to join. Back to you, Tina.
Fabulous. So we are great. He is looking for Monday with Starlet.
All right.
So any other questions as far as total cost analysis, using your phone device or any other smart device, open house presentations, working with partners, let me know what is on your mind because, again, I liked going through and asking you guys first. I do have a few topics for you guys to choose from if we don't have anything else. And we have another one, monthly summary report. Are the tax benefits and the principal paid an annual average? So what it is it's not an annual average, it is the actual cost. So they are doing a calculation that adds everything up based on those payments, such as using an amortization schedule. you can add all those totals up, and that is where it comes from. It is the actual number, not an average. So great question. You want to throw something in there?
Yeah, and remember that when you are doing your TCA, total cost analysis presentation, it is optional for you to show a tax benefit. So as Tina goes through the presentation, right there in the affordability tab, you know that there's a couple of areas within the total cost analysis that you can bypass. One is the affordability and also the contact area. There's no red highlighted areas, and that's an area you can bypass. But the tax benefit is optional. So if you want to show a tax benefit for your customer within the affordability tab, right at the bottom, there is a tax bracket field where you would have to enter in a tax bracket number for your customer. So what is that standard deduction for your customer? If you don't know, we provide you with a quick link. So once you click on that quick link, you can insert that tax information, but it is optional. So if you don't add a tax benefit for your customer, there will be no tax benefits shown on your final presentation.
And yes, that tax benefit does change annually. The reason why is because it is calculated based on the amount of interest that they are paying each payment. So because of that fact, it is changed. The benefit is changed annually. And this is how it is calculated. It is whatever is greater of the two. If the standard deduction is the bigger deduction, they're going to go with the standard deduction on the tax benefit. However, if the interest paid for the loan is higher, they're going with the interest paid for the loan for that standard deduction on the tax form. So great questions, Tim. And that is what that number reflects. Exactly, you've got it. So hopefully that helps clear up that little tax benefit little section for you. Initially, when they show that window of the tax benefit, that is the initial tax benefit for that first month, and or the first year. It's an average for that first year, but it does calculate each year afterwards to reflect the interest on that year. Perfect. Any other questions? And that's a great question because that is a little bit more in depth. And I know when I was working as a loan officer, I was always told not to go into the tax questions. However, we tend to feel obligated sometimes to be able to at least understand what we're presenting to our clients. What I do suggest to you is make sure you have a tax accountant or financial advisor, someone that you partner with that can help answer those questions in depth, but at least you understand what is being presented on the presentation. So any other questions at hand? If not, let me drop this poll in. So go ahead, what would you like to see? So if one of these are on here, let me know. Working with MI, move up buyer, rent versus own, first time home buyer, or you have another topic you really want to see. So we want to make sure that we're answering your questions and we're here so you guys have the best chance to build your business and learn to work with Mortgage Coach. So we can do a little countdown, the little dun 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 dun. Too much Jeopardy in my life, apparently. I only have a few of you guys that voted, only 25%. I need a few more in there. I'm kind of hard-headed, so I like to wait until you guys have voted. Still waiting. Come on, I only have, and right now rent versus own is winning. So if you don't want rent versus own, now's the time to vote what you want to see. So specific question, do you have customer service? Go ahead, Tim, and send a question over to support@mortgagecoach.com. They will get back to you. We have Robert and Marcy working there for you, and they'll get right with you. So it looks like 100% of you guys want to see the exact same thing, the rent versus own analysis. So let's go ahead and work on that rent versus own and first time home buyer. We're going to hide those results and let's go ahead and get started. So now here's the question star. Do we stay on camera or do we go ahead and leave.
No, I think it's ready for us to rock and roll and get into today's presentation. So it was great. Thank you so much for joining today's presentation.
This was totally her idea.
It was my idea because I think that it's always good to put a face with your trainers. So I definitely get the juices flowing and get you guys revved up. So thank you very much for participating. And we're going to go ahead and get started with the rip versus own.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Awesome idea. Good job.
Thank you, Tim.
So let's go ahead and get started. And I'd love for you to work alongside of me because at the end of building this, I'm going to show you how to use this in master template. So in the future, you can just copy what you have here and you can use it for another client, which is fabulous, only changing those little things you want. Go ahead and say bye to Star. Star is actually skipping out on us. She has another call, but she did want to come in and make sure that her face was seen.
Bye, everyone. Have a great training. Thanks, Tina.
Bye. So let's go into there, log in to your own credentials. This is my account, and we're going to start with a new client. So clicking on new client, and we have a choice here. We can build it as an individual client. So if you have a client at hand, someone that you want to use, absolutely please use that client's name and information. And you can use it as a marketing piece. Most of the time when I do a master template, I do it as a marketing piece because then I don't have to be as specific. And if I want to show a realtor the information, I'm not disclosing any personal information. So I'm going to go ahead and build this as a marketing piece. And I'm going to start by giving it a name, Rent versus Own. Now here, this client versus prospect, this is all about you and how you separate them. If you do a search and you search for all your prospects versus clients, that's when you want to separate. Otherwise, go ahead and leave it as the client. And then we know rent versus own, we're going to start them off as renting. If you've received the lead from someone else, make sure you put their information in there. This will allow them to be notified when the presentation is viewed. And then the friendly name is for you. So first time home buyer is what I'm going to put in here. And this actually allows you to keep your presentation separate. So if I was to come back next year and this was a client, then I could do the annual mortgage review. I could copy that same client to that client and then use that information to do the review. So moving now we're going to click on Get My First Home. Remember, all of these do trigger something in the presentation. And now for current rent. Because I am doing a marketing piece, I'm going to use the average rent for my area. I'm actually in Southern California. Average rent here is crazy. So I'm going to use $2,600. What I want you to do is if you're doing it as a marketing piece, use the average rent in your area. And then annual rent increase, 3% is the average, but you might be in an area that's higher or lower. I'm just going to use that average. Now, rent insurance, if they are renting, more likely they do have rent insurance, and it goes based on the area. I know my rent insurance is $26 for where I'm at. And then other monthly expenses. This would be, are they renting a shed or a storage unit? Do they have to pay for that extra garage? Are they paying the laundry facility? Are they paying any other fees associated that they have to pay in order to live where they're at? And then we're at the standard deduction. So standard deduction is based on the deduction at the home. I know mine is $6,800 head of household. So you'll put that standard deduction and you can figure that out right down here. We're going to move next to affordability. This is your choice to fill this out. There is nothing in here that is red. So speed to lead, you do not have to fill anything out. This top part triggers the debt to income ratio. The second section lets you know if they have enough for closing plus reserves. But the tax bracket you will want to place in there because that does help trigger tax benefit information. So I'm going to put 25% in there. Moving to the next screen, this is about having that conversation with your clients so you can meet their goals. Now, what I do want to note is this yellow note area down on the lower right corner. This is solely for you. So you can put information about little Johnny. You can put information about sports, about their goals, anything you want in this box. Again, it is for you. Your clients will not see this anywhere on that report. So, and remember, if you have questions while I'm working through, if you have a concern or you want to know more information about a certain area, please let me know and I'll dive a little deeper. Now we're going to build our first product. So if you are an enterprise and you are integrated with your pricing engine, this is going to be a lot easier for you because that information will pull over. But I am not integrated with anything, so I'm going to type in what product I want. So I'm going to use the FHA at 3.5% first. Now I could use a template because I do have templates in here. So if you have templates, that is definitely the fastest way. And then here's the upfront premium. This triggers that premium box. So we want to make sure we choose FHA here. Let's say we're working with a purchase price of, and they probably won't get a lot with this. Let's say $350. Small condo, maybe Long Beach. Down payment percentage is going to be that 3.5%. And then the interest rate, and I haven't looked at FHA, I'm going to use 4% right now at 360 months. So now we've filled in all of these. And again, it's the red ones that are required fields. Advancing forward, and every time I advance forward, I save the information I placed in there. So that next button is also your save button. Now I'm going to add my closing cost in here. So I can add it one of two ways. If I just want to add the bulk amount, I can add that bulk amount in here, or I can go into my closing cost details. Hopefully you've built some templates in here. So I can go in here and there are some templates in here, and I'm actually going to choose one of them. I know actually a lot of mine are empty, but let's choose this one. And I just want the fees to drop in. What you want to do here is you want to enter in. Okay, one moment, reading a question. Is anyone else having problems getting into Mortgage Coach right now? So we have someone having some issues trying to log in. The other thing you can do, David, is send an email over to support@mortgagecoach.com. In there, in the title, put urgent in training. And if Robert's sitting at his computer or Marcy, they'll answer that one first. So Lisa says no, she's good. I logged in fine. So I would suggest sending it over there to support@mortgagecoach.com. So what you want to do here is you want to make sure that everything here matches the fees on your loan estimate. So you would add a fee. And let's say I know I don't have underwriting on here. So I would click on my underwriting. And then I would add the total amount of my underwriting fee. Now remember to click on APR if it is APR or not APR in order to have it reflected properly in your end report. Once it does match, everything is good, simply apply it to the loan and all your fees are dropped over. Now, if you have points that you're charging for the rate, you can put them in here. And if you have credit for interest rate chosen, you can actually come over here, add a fee, and we have added credit for interest rate chosen right over here. So there's that credit for interest rate chosen. This reflects in the presentation the same way that that contribution reflects. So if let's say that they're getting $12.47 back for that credit for interest rate chosen, unlike the other fields, I do not have to put the negative or the minus sign in front. For example, if I wanted to credit them for the underwriting fee, I would have to put that in order for it to reflect properly. So in this case, because it is already programmed to subtract from the closing costs, you can just put that total number in there and it will subtract it from the closing cost. Now remember, everyone is reflecting different, whether it's APR or not. So make sure that you do talk to your underwriting or talk to your manager to know whether or not your credit for interest rate impacts your APR. Once you're happy, apply that to the loan. Now we can add our prepaid days of interest. And if there's earnest money, we can add that here. And then we can add our upfront MIP. Now watch, when I tab off of here, the little box, add the MIP to the loan amount, automatically comes up for me. So I can add that right there. Moving forward, now I'm going to add the monthly fees. If there's HOA dues, which probably there would be in this situation where I live based on the price range. Hazard insurance, you want to use the percentage initially on the average for the area that you live in. The reason you want to use that percentage is because if you change the price of your property, it will automatically be updated for you. So using the percentage is the best. And in order to do that, calculate out a few of them, divide them, see what that average percentage is for you. And then property tax, you can typically look up in the county that you're purchasing in and find that property tax. We will have mortgage insurance on this. Being an FHA, it will be for the life of the loan. Now you see when I tabbed, we dropped in a couple of things down here. First off, calculate MI on balance. This is for any government loans. This is how they calculate it. If it is not a government loan, then you do not want to check that. So thank you, Tom. Come back, join us again. Have a great day. Now we can collect our reserves. And you would collect it how you normally would reflect it on your loan estimate. Now we're going to add a second product. Is there a product that you want to see? Do you have an in-house product that you want me to show you? If you do, drop in the parameters in that question box and I will go ahead and add that product in there. For sake of me waiting, I'm going to leave it as product 2. But what I'm going to do is I am going to copy it from that FHA loan to start off with by clicking on OK. This brings over all that initial information that we had just put in. So we're not retyping in the closing costs, the monthly fees, the purchase price. All of that is automatically copied from that initial point that we put the information in. So it doesn't look like anyone has a product that they want to use. So let me go ahead and use just a basic 5% down. So 5% down, we know that we are going to have a few different options. We can have lender paid MI. We can have borrower paid MI. So let's do borrower paid MI. Now we are not going to have a single upfront premium. We will be changing the interest rate. Maybe it's 4.25, a little higher because it's not FHA. And we're going to change how much is down. Now we're putting 5% down. Advancing forward, you'll see the closing costs are in there. Now, if it was going from FHA to a normal loan, I know that the pest inspection is always on FHA, but not on other loans. So I would go in and I would remove that fee. For example, let's go in and we're just going to remove a random fee. Let's remove this appraisal fee here. Applying that to the loan. Everything else would be the same. Moving to the next page. And now I would need to change my mortgage insurance amount. So maybe on this one, it's 0.71. Now, would you guys like me to add a third loan? Or are we good on seeing how the loans are added? So let me know if you want me to add a third loan. Just drop it in the question box. Please add or add a third. You guys are awfully quiet today. So no input, so let's not add that third loan. Let's move over to the analysis screen. So analysis screen, make sure you have the property appreciation for the county or area you're working in. The average right now for the US is 4%. Short-term analysis, we have it currently set at 60. You can change and adjust it. You can either slide it here or you can type right in here to change and adjust. Reason we have it set on 60 is it does match that TILA RESPA requirement of the 5 years total interest paid. It goes and correlates with that. And then the long-term analysis section, have it set on 10 years, might be set on something different. I recommend, unless your client has a goal, to set it on 10. The reason why is because 10 matches the average number of years a family is maintaining and keeping their home before they put it back on the market. So this gives you that average American reflection. Now, if we were doing a refinance or we wanted to show investment, this is where that investment goes in there. And we can see on this second loan, we are actually saving $45.58 a month. We could show if they were comfortable with that other payment. We could add that payment right here. So the payments are identical, and that way they can actually see which one's going to be building the most worth when they're making the same payment. Now, I don't want to leave this in here, so let's delete that back out. Let's talk a little bit about the other three quadrants. This one up here, monthly payments. I'm going to talk about that when I show the presentation because I want to show you real numbers. This is not the total PITI payment. It is actually the unrecoverable cost. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the presentation. Now you have that ability to choose down here in the bottom left, rent versus principal paid, and this is based on 5 years. You can show the rent versus the principal, rent versus the tax benefit, but my favorite to show is the tax benefit analysis. Which one shows you the best benefit when it comes to taxes? And you'll see right here, I do have that benefit of that $6,800 and the 25% that I put in before. Even if I rent, I still get that tax deduction. So it is reflected into the presentation. But because the interest is higher on the other two options, now I have a higher tax benefit because it's no longer taking that $6,800. It's now using the interest that I'm paying on the home to reflect that benefit. Long-term principal paid, we can have the principal here, total net worth, or total interest in MI. This box really comes down to knowing and understanding how your clients' minds work. If your clients want to know what loan is going to cost me the least in that long term, because I know I'm going to sell the home, I know equity is going to be built into it, which one's going to cost me the least to invest into while I'm building my career and everything, you can leave it on the total interest in MI. If you have someone who is trying to build equity, who is trying to work towards retirement, then you would want to have that net worth in there. And total net worth is calculated in, let's go into, when I go into the presentation, I'll show you, because it does break it down in that little more box, but the net worth has the value of the home minus the amount that is still owed plus the property appreciation rate. So all of that is placed into the net worth. If you have another account, it's in there. Great, thanks for the question, Tim. And then contact information, I'm doing it as a marketing piece. So the only thing I want to do is if I'm doing it for a certain city, I might put something like your new home or beautiful new home If I'm only working in a certain city, I can put that city in there, the state, and then the zip code as well. And the reason why I do want to put something in here, even if I don't have an address, is it is reflected on the presentation. So let's go ahead and advance forward. Now we have the presentation piece. We have rent versus own. Now let's say I want to change it over to total cost analysis. I don't want to show the tax benefit. I don't want to show all of that. If I just click it right there, now I have two separate presentations, but I have built that rent versus own information, so I can always come back to it. If I do not want to show maybe that 5%, that lender that I was using, the investor, no longer offers that one. I simply unclick it and it's no longer in the presentation. Now, often we are asked, can I delete a product? That answer is no. You cannot delete a product. You have two choices. You can go put a different product on top of that one, or you can simply uncheck it so it's not present in the presentation. And then down here, you want to make sure that the notes do reflect the information. I might even add in here, taxes and insurance are reflected in the total payment. Once I'm happy here, you could move through the next screen, and each screen has this area where you can customize it for your client. You can put that information in there. If you have text in there, you're happy with the text and you don't want to bother with putting information in there each time, placing your mouse on presentation, you can jump right to preview. Preview now, it has clicked, notify me when the report is viewed. I am actually going to unclick this in this situation. I'm using it as a marketing piece. So unless I'm comparing two different types of marketing and which one's going to be the best or has the most views, I'm going to unclick it because I don't know who's viewing the presentation and I don't want all those notifications. And then the click to call button is there. Add that quote date, protect you and the company. And then I can click on preview, which is the view that your clients have, or I can click on generate a link because I have a little bit more tidying up and polishing I want to do. I'm going to click on that generate a link. Now I'm actually going to copy this link for you guys and I'm going to place it in the chat box. So if you are on your computer, go ahead and go into that presentation, because as I go through and I highlight, you will see it reflected on your screen. This is the same way your clients would if you clicked on Edge Live. I can also do it right here in my Add Audio Video, and it's going to highlight it for you. So this is a great way for you to practice and see how that Edge Live is. So I'm going to give you a minute to go ahead and click on that link and bring it up into your computer. So once you are here on the rent versus own, you want to go through and you want to highlight those things that are different about the loans. Because if you highlight everything, such as closing costs, not very different, but we did delete one fee out of there. So that is a little different there. Whether it reflects an APR, non-APR, I don't remember which one it was. But let's start by highlighting maybe because the APR is required to be disclosed. Maybe we highlight that APR and we don't highlight the interest rate. Or if your clients are highly focused on interest rate, highlight that interest rate. So knowing your clients, again, is the best thing. Now, we do want to highlight the total payment here. The reason why is, like I said before, this net monthly payment in the upper right-hand corner is not the same as that total payment. If you look at it, you can see the difference. What is reflected in this net monthly payment is the total payment less the tax benefit and principal paid, because that is the unrecoverable cost of the loan. That is the most comparable to the rent. So you can see the tax benefit is even deleted in the rent scenario. So in this situation, Make sure that your clients understand this is really comparing apples to apples in this upper right corner. This is the unrecoverable cost. This is what the money that you will not ever see any benefit of when you pay your mortgage or your rent. So let's go ahead and unhighlight that. And I'm not going to highlight anything on the net monthly payments because some people like to focus more on that. However, we want them to really focus on what is coming out of your pocket. So that is on there. Now let's go into the more information. So clicking into the more information automatically pops up the next window. And this is that payment breakdown. So in here, I would reflect what is the major difference. The major difference here is that principal and interest payment. So that is the only thing I would highlight. Everything else is pretty close. Mortgage insurance is different. So the others are all identical. So I just want to highlight what is different. Now the closing cost is where we're going to dive in a little deeper because there's a couple of things that are different. First off, that down payment. So sorry, my computer is showing a little bit of problems with audio, wanting to again, is audio okay for you guys? Because I'm getting a couple of little flashing windows saying I'm having audio issues. So let me know in that little question box, audio okay? Hello? Okay, Lisa says yes, she's on her phone. I'm going to go with it and pretend like everyone is a yes. Thank you, Lisa, for your assistance. So now we're going to look at the next fee that is drastically different. APR costs are pretty similar. Non-APR costs are, again, not too much difference. But now we have this upfront MI. And then the prepaids are pretty similar as well. So this is the most significant impact is between that and that initial down payment amount. So you can see actually the amount that they're coming in is not much different. However, more money is being applied towards that 5% down. And then we did not end up doing a reinvestment strategy, but if we did, it would be right in this window. Let's go ahead and clear off of there. Net monthly payments, you can see they've already pulled over information that was highlighted. And then the tax benefit analysis. This is where we see where that tax benefit analysis comes from. We're taking the principal paid out and we're showing the net cost of the loan and the real estate value here. And finally, net worth. So the principal paid, they are having also, there's that tax benefit in there. But basically that net worth is the amount of the house less the principal that's been applied. And they apply that annual property appreciation, which I have 4% in there. So any questions on that presentation piece? Now what I want to show you is how to use this marketing piece in order to create a new client. So you don't have to put all this information in. Let's go ahead and exit out of here. And I'm going to go back home. And you can see it's called rent versus own. But in order for me to do this, I need to go into that view all. Click on search, and I'm going to look for rent versus own that was created today. So let me scroll down. And in order for me, I have a few in here. That was not today's. It might be the bottom one. So here is that rent versus own, and you can see the date and the time is stamped on there, and that way I know which one it is. So I'm going to now click on that. So I'm clicked on that line only one time, but I'm going to copy the analysis. Now you can see I can copy it to that current client. So that would be in the situation if I was doing an annual mortgage review. I could copy it there, but I'm going to click on New Client and click on OK. Now when I click on the new client, I just need to come over here and put that new client's information in. So I would add their name. It would still be Get My First Home. I would update their current information based on the rent. David, I did place the rent versus own. I have it right there. It should be in your chat box. And then I will go ahead and do the cost of waiting. Actually, I'll do it for that same presentation. So you'll be able to see the differences between the two presentations. So do you see it in the chat box? If not, I'll send it to you individually. Okay. And then once I'm done with this, I'll go back and I'll do that other one for you for the cost of, or I'll do a cost of waiting one that I have already so you have it available as well. So you would update information and you would just go through each screen, updating information. Products would probably be pretty similar because it is a first-time home buyer. And then purchase price, again, updating, and the interest rate updating. Unless your fees change, you don't have to update your fees. You also would not need to update this if you use the percentage amount. So you can see you only need to come through and update a few things when you created that new presentation just by copying that initial piece that we just built together. So any questions, or do you want to see copying again? And while I'm waiting for that response, I'm going to come into one of my cost of waiting. And you'll see when I do my search, my marketing pieces that I use are up here, and I placed an asterisk in front of it. This allows me to know right away what presentations I have. So cost of waiting is right here. So let me double click into there. And I'm going to go ahead and place this in the chat for everyone, even though only David asked for it. So you guys have it available for you to look at as well. There's the cost of waiting. And let's do one more that is great for right now, and that's that move up buyer. So that's the other analysis in that market. Yes, I do have a rent versus own and cost of waiting, I believe. I'd have to search it out. Let me see. I'm going to click onto the link I just sent you. So this is the one I just sent. And this is it. So what he was talking about, this is a rent versus own, but it's also a move up buyer scenario. So it has the rent reflected in it. It has the tax benefit reflected in it. So that's the one that was in there. So that's the one I just dropped in, David. But I'm also going to give you one more. We're going to close that one out. Let's go back here. I'm going to give you also that move up buyer, because this is another one that's really good right now in the market. These are the people who are in their current home situation. With many markets right now being a dual market, this allows those people who that are in the middle class be able to see how to leverage their equity in order to move into that larger home that has been sitting on the market a little longer, because those more expensive homes in many areas are not moving as quickly. So let me go ahead and copy this one and give it to you as well. There you go. So that gives you a view. And I'm like you. I like looking at the presentations and seeing how people have worked with numbers, because that helps you be able to reflect best how you can work with your clients. So let's ask if there's any questions or anything else you want answered on today's session. Or if you want me to show you how to record video from that presentation, I can also show you the video aspect, because I know some of you guys are new, and that video does totally set you aside from other lenders because no one else is doing video. So it kind of makes you a little unique and special, and it gives you that extra touch in the marketing aspect. Okay, looks like you guys are all good. So let's go ahead and go through. If you do need help on those presentations I sent the links to on how to build them, going into help on mortgagecoach.edge right here up at the top, you have our keyword search. So you can type in that keyword here. But I want to show you another little spot that is new on our page. Down here is on the bottom right corner, there's the little blue support. And if I was to come down here and type up move up buyer, it gives me some results. Now, if for any reason the results that pop up do not work, I can click on right here the contact us, and I can send an email right over to support from this spot. So it'll just ask basic name, address, and what is the issue. If you're working on a total cost analysis and you have numbers not coming up right, throw your attachment, that total cost analysis little link, right in there, and then they'll be able to reflect on that and be able to help you out. And then also, as you guys all know, because you got here, we do have our calendar for more training if you need more training. So the one class I was talking about earlier is that Intro to Mortgage Coach on Mondays with Starlet. She is fabulous. She breaks it down. She's a little bit slower of a trainer as far as she lets you grasp it a little bit easier than I do. I tend to be very straight to the point. So that is all for today. Hope you guys learned something and took something away from your experience, and that you guys go out and you get some more loans placed in your pipeline. Thank you. Have a great day.